July 1941. Smolensk. German tanks are breaking through. A Soviet soldier lies in the dirt, clutching a grenade. He knows the tank will reach his trench in seconds. This is not a heroic movie moment. This is real history. And in those final seconds, he makes a decision that will define how this battle is remembered. To understand why he chose death over surrender, we have to go back to the first weeks of Germany's invasion of the Soviet Union, when the Red Army began to collapse, and fear became a weapon on both sides. In the summer of 1941, Nazi Germany smashed into the Soviet Union with a speed and violence the world had never seen. Operation Barbarossa tore through the Western Soviet defenses. Entire armies collapsed, roads filled with refugees. The Red Army fell back in chaos. And in the middle of this disaster stood the city of Smolensk. Here, in July 1941, Soviet forces were surrounded, outgunned, and running out of time. For many soldiers, there was no escape. German tanks rolled forward almost unhindered. Soviet units lacked radios, anti-tank weapons, and sometimes even ammunition. Entire divisions were cut off behind enemy lines, with no orders and no hope of reinforcement. When German armor appeared, surrender was not a mercy. Soviet soldiers knew what capture meant. German forces routinely executed political officers and starved prisoners of war. Millions would die in captivity. Word spread quickly along the front. For many, death in battle felt like the only remaining choice. Soviet ideology reinforced this belief. Surrender was treated as betrayal. Soldiers were taught that allowing the enemy to pass was worse than dying in place. The defense of the motherland demanded sacrifice without limit. So when tanks broke through Soviet lines, some soldiers made a final decision. With no weapons left that could stop German armor, infantrymen crawled beneath tanks with grenades and explosives. Others detonated themselves when surrounded, taking enemy soldiers with them. These were not planned suicide missions. They were moments of desperation, fear, and defiance. Each explosion bought seconds, sometimes minutes, enough time for others to escape, regroup, or form a new defensive line. Soviet command later turned these deaths into legend. Stories of self-sacrifice were spread across the country, held up as examples of courage and loyalty. The fallen were remembered as heroes who chose death over defeat. But behind the propaganda was a darker truth. These men were trapped in a collapsing army, facing an enemy that offered no mercy, and a system that offered no retreat. At Smolensk, blowing yourself up was not about glory. It was about refusing to disappear quietly. It was about stopping the enemy, just once more, before everything fell apart. And in that summer of 1941, for many Soviet soldiers, that final explosion was the last weapon they had left.